Okay, folks, we're going to go ahead and get started. First of all, I want to thank you for coming and attending this live stream of researching subjects in the digital age. A couple of things to note before we get started. If you have a Google account, you can sign in with that, and you can actually use the chat over on the right hand side. Oops. And if you have any questions along the way, don't hesitate to ask in the chat. Um, let's see, what else? We'll be covering several different search engines today as part of this live stream. It should probably last about 30 to 40 minutes, depending on the number of questions. Also, you guys bear with me. I'm just getting over a bad sinus infection, so I was standing in the shower this morning with just nothing but hot water trying to clear my head. So I'll try and do the best I can to speak clearly. Also, at the end of this, I'll be posting a link on the original post on RCSB to a PDF that's basically an outline of what we went over. And you can use that in conjunction with this video, which you can play back at any time on our channel to review the information. So let's get going. Um, One of the big things that I hear people complain about when they're trying to do research on a new modeling subject is they say, well, I went out and I searched and I was overwhelmed by the number of um, items returned from the search and was, just couldn't really sort through all of it. So, what this is about today is number one, we're going to talk about search engines in general. And number two, we're going to show you how to narrow down those searches and become a search ninja. um, there's a lot of information to cover about this. I'm really just going to be touching on it, but it should be enough to get you more comfortable using search engines. Um, so real quickly, let's talk about the what I think is one of the biggest mistakes people make when they go to try and find information on the internet. Okay, is you need a plan. Okay, you need to know what you're searching for, and by that I don't mean I'm searching for a P47. What I mean is I'm searching for a 3 view of a P47. Okay, um, you have to be, the thing about search engines are you have to be very specific. The best analogy I could put it to is you're talking to a 5-year old. Okay, so you have to be very specific in your instructions and telling it what to do. And we're going to get down and dirty and do some of that, but I want you to kind of understand first how important that is. So one one thing that I see happen all the time also here is that uh, people just implicitly trust what they find on the internet. Okay, you shouldn't do that. There's a lot of good information out there. There's also some misinformation. Okay, so be warned about that, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. So, roughly, what we're going to cover today, we're going to talk about how to pick the best search engine for you, how to become a search ninja. I love that term. Um, and then we're going to cover information and misinformation on the internet and some search tips. So digging in there, let's talk about picking a search engine. Okay, as you can see by the post uh, in the browser here on your screen, I show what is basically the four major search engines on the internet: DuckDuckGo, Bing, Google, and Yahoo. Okay. Um, right away, I'm going to tell you that the the two search engines that have the largest index, and what I mean by index is that have gone out and cataloged websites all over the internet. Okay, the two that have the largest um, indexes are Google and Bing. Of course, Google, most people know that search engine because it's usually the default search engine for most web browsers. Bing is Microsoft's search engine, and those two are really about on the same caliber as far as the amount of information they index. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now, throw it, if you're not using one of those are the two you need to be using, one of those two. Okay, so let's go look at those real quick and let's just talk about them. And let's talk about what it looks like, um, the parts of a search engine. So let's go to Google first. Just type in google.com. And of course, you're presented with a text box to type in and a search button. The I'm feeling lucky button, just ignore that. All that is it's just going to randomly send you somewhere. You're not interested in that. Okay. So the way a general search would be is you would say PZL 23. Okay. And it'll show you where you've searched for this before or what other people have searched for when you type this in. So if I just press enter here, okay, it's going to bring back a lot of information about this aircraft. The thing I want you to notice though is at the top of the search engine up here where it says all, you also have images, you have videos, and if you look under more, you also have books. So if I click on books, now it's going to take me to search results that are only books. So if you're looking for a book on the PZL-23, this would be a place where you could go and find one. If you're looking for images, you click on the image tab up at the top. Okay, and there we go. There's lots of images. Okay, and as you can see, there's a lot of images about this aircraft. So let's go back to all. So what all is a conglomeration of web articles, web pages, books, images, videos, you name it. Okay, and this is what overwhelms most people. Okay, uh, they get the idea that everything they see here that they have to go through. As you can see, there is a lot of information here. Okay, and what's interesting is even though it just says three, I guarantee you that there is tens of thousands of entries here. Okay. Um, so what we need to do is we need to learn how to tell the search engine to be more specific in what we want. Okay. So let's flip over to Bing. I'm going to flip back and forth between these two because I want you to see it in both. So we just go to Bing.com. If nothing else, I got to have to say Bing has a prettier search engine page. But so let's search for PZL 23, right? Press enter. Same thing. If you notice, these two are a lot alike. Um, they have an all tab, an images tab, a videos tab. Now, uh, Bing does not have a books tab, but if I remember correctly, I think yeah, you can look under shopping and you can find books and models and so forth. Okay, so using these tabs along the top is very powerful. as far as step one to minimize the amount of information you have to look through. Okay, once again, if you have any questions, feel free to post them in the chat here on the live stream, and I'll stop and answer your question, and we'll cover it specifically. Um, so going back to the all, what we need to do here, in this instance, we want to find a 3 view of a PZL23. Okay, so I have PZL23 here. Let's add 3 view. Okay, and press enter. Now things are starting to narrow down a little bit. Okay, so if we go over here to images, the first line is nothing but 3 views, which some are and some are not. And if you notice these little kind of blue green blocks, if I click on PZL23 Kairos, it will just show all images for that. Okay, so let's go back. Um, so it kind of shows you how many drawings it found. Now what's interesting, let's go do this in Google. So let's say PZL23 and 3 view and press enter. Now let's go to images. Okay, and you see there's 3 views and regular photos mixed in. What this means is that, let's say this second photo here, okay, what this means is this photo is on a page that also has a 3 view. Okay, because what Google and Bing does is they see this PZL23 and they see this 3 view. Okay, and they do something called a binary and. Okay, I'm sorry, a Boolean and. It would be the same as saying this. Okay, that would bring back the exact same results. Boolean conditions, you just have 2, and or. This would bring back images of PZL23 and 3 views, those together. The or would bring back PZL23 or 3 views. Okay, so you can use that keyword one way or the other. But normally, what you want to do when you're typing out your text for a search is you want to put the most important words or phrases first. Okay, and I saw that, Jerry. And what I mean by that is we can make a phrase. Okay, so I could say Karis. Okay, now what I have to do to make it a phrase is I put that phrase in quotes. So now it's going to look for PZL23 Karis and 3 views. Okay, so let's press enter and see what happens. Pretty much get the same thing. There's probably a few less, but not many. But now here's where things start getting interesting. Okay, let me grab my notes here and make sure I'm staying on target. One thing you want to do also is you do not want to do this. Type it in all uppercase, and the reason being is when they index the search engines, information is indexed in lowercase. Okay, the indexes themselves are in lowercase. So what this is going to force it to do is, instead of looking for PZL23 Keras 3 view, it's going to force it to look for that in uppercase, which will definitely narrow the search parameters. It'll cut down on the number of items returned. Okay, so you really don't want to do that. And I know a lot of people, especially us older folks, uh, like to type in uppercase, but it's much better if you do it in lowercase. Okay, so if we say, oops, let me get my phrase back here. Okay, and it likes it a lot better. Okay, and also one other thing that Google does is you see this where it said, "Did you mean this 3 space view?" Sometimes you can try that and see if it gives you better results, but it not necessarily won't. Okay, um, sometimes when you type things, it will offer alternatives like that for you to try. Um, and what about not? Not is not really used in that context. There's a different way to exclude things. Um, I'm sorry. No, you're right. You can use not, but we'll get into to that in a minute when we talk about exclusions. Um, the other thing that you want to avoid is something called stop words. Okay, and what a stop word is something like a, to, is, the, has. Basically, what these search engines do is when they index text, um, and they build kind of their search terms, those words are not, even though those words may be in the text of a parentheses, I'm sorry, of a paragraph, um, those words are not indexed. Okay, so if it sees those, it just kind of ignores them. Okay, so just think of common words that are in sentences like has, who, um, gosh, I don't know. I'm just trying to think of other ones like for, to, to, and too both, are, those kind of words. You really don't want to try and use those common words, uh, because it's basically going to ignore them unless you put it in quotes and make it a term, okay, or a phrase. So if we say has, guns, okay, if we search for this, let's go back over here to all and say has guns. Oh, come on, Mike. Okay, so we want to put this in quotes. Let's take the 3 view off. Okay, and what this is going to do now it's going to go into those paragraphs of text and look for that specific phrase. Okay. The only problem with this is as you get more complex, if you put a couple of phrases out there like this together and string them together with ors or ands, your search can really almost be cut down too much. So you could say like that and um, I need a break. Okay, so what it says here is it actually found both of those, right? Both of those individual phrases and recovered them. But if you say Let's see. Let's do this. Let's talk about exclusions a little bit. Um, let's say I need a break, not PZL 23 Karas has guns. Ooh, I have that in there twice. Nothing comes back because there is no indexed value that says I need a break, but also has PZL 23 Karas has guns in the index for that site that it will exclude. Okay? Does that make sense to everyone? So, what you can do here, the other thing you can do is, I was trying to remember, there's an easier way to basically not include things. Okay? That's why I don't like to use it. Matter of fact, I never use it. I always use this, what I'm about to show you. I'll say minus, um, let's see, PCO has guns minus toy, the word toy. Okay. And what that's going to do is, okay, it did not find any results for PZL 23 Karas has guns that it also had the term toy in there, okay, to exclude. So we could go a little further and say Polish. Okay, now what it did is it it took that term and it actually found some. Oh, I'm sorry, no, it didn't find any, did it? I'm trying to find one that we can. Let's look down here and see what we can exclude. How about if we exclude this term right here? Let's say we don't want to see anything from these publishers. Okay. Now they're not there anymore. Okay. It actually removed that entry. Okay. So I like to use the minus. I don't know. To me, it's just easier to remember. Um, the other things you can do with this is, let me see. Oh, this is kind of neat. So let's say you know that a specific website has some information you want, but you don't know where it is on the website. Okay. You can't really use this on RCSB because a lot of the stuff is behind the member wall. So, but we'll do another example here. Let's say we'll use my name. Okay. Let's look for Mike Chilson on. Um, let's see. How about this term is called a URL, and you just say HTTPS RCUniverse.com. Let me fix my name there. Getting too fast on the keys. Okay, so what it did is it found a post on RC Universe with my name in it. Okay, and so what you can do is you can search for specific terms on a specific site using the URL colon. Here's another example. So all of these posts have RCSB in them, as you can see here. Okay, so that's kind of a good tool too if of you know some information's on a site, but you're not sure exactly where to find it. That's the way you can do it, and this works on both search engines. Now, there is a caveat to this, the URL colon command. On Google, say I put in RCUniverse.com like I did, it's going to search every page below that URL. Okay, so every page that's at RCUniverse.com, it will search for that term RCSB. If I go over and do this on Bing, let's go do it on Bing, and I want you to see what happens. Let's copy this, and let's paste this in here. There's no results because what Bing does when you give the URL um, command, it actually is specifically um, for that page. So in this case, www.rcuniverse.com would be the home page of RC Universe. So Google searches everything, and Bing only searches the specific URL that you put in. Okay, which is kind of crazy. I don't know why they do it that way. You know, I guess you could argue that it gives you the opportunity um, to be more specific on a site, but you know. Okay, Alan had a question. He said, "What if you typed 3-view PZL23?" Well, let's do that, Alan. Okay, so what it's done is it's look looking for basically anything that matches any part of either one of these. Okay, that's why you want to be real careful and try and use phrases or and use and or when you're searching. Also, since we put 3-view as the first word, watch this when we go to images. We get a bunch of them that are not PZL 23s. Okay, so positioning your most important words at the beginning are very important. Okay, okay, that's a good question. Okay, any questions about some of these commands? I don't want to go too deep down this rabbit hole, uh, but the main things you want to remember about this, about what we covered about searching, is don't use uppercase if you don't have to. Um, Avoid stop words like the, a, are, um, was, things like that. Um, you can use Boolean keywords like and, or, and not to make a to let the search engine make logical choices about your conditions of what you want. So once again, and will combine. Okay, so it would be like phrase one and phrase two needs to be there. Or means phrase one or phrase two should be there. And then, of course, not means phrase one, not phrase two should not be there. Okay. Um, Also, you saw me use the minus. You can also use a plus on that too. So let's do this. Let's say PZL23 plus uh, mushroom. And what comes back but PZL23. And if you notice, mushroom is there. Mushroom model publishing. Mushroom model publishing. So you can use plus and minus to both include and exclude um, individual words or phrases in your search criteria. Because remember, all this thing's doing is it's looking at the individual words and or phrases that you enter, and based on their position and based on these little commands like URL, plus minus, and or and not, it makes decisions as to what it's going to return back to you. So the whole idea is you want to narrow your search as much as possible. Okay. Um, okay, Ed, we'll try yours here. Actually, the Polish didn't use a dash; they used a period for their names. We'll correct that. And let's see what we get back. Okay, so if we look at images, yep, we got some back. How about that? But we didn't put it in a phrase, so we also got engineering drawings back on other things too. See that? So let's make that a phrase and see what happens. Yeah, that cut down on it some. There's still a few down there, but and the other thing too that you got to keep in mind, both Google and Bing both. Let's go back to Bing and try that one. Oops. Okay, see, it didn't find it because it literally was looking for that. Whereas Google, and this is what I was about to touch on, Google's seen that we've been searching for PZL23 and we've been searching for different variations of that. So it's going to try its best. If we come back here at all, it's going to try its best. If you notice, it actually says right here, it didn't find that. It's going to try its best to figure out what you're trying to search for and give you the closest things it thinks you're looking for based on your history. Okay. That can be good and that can be bad. Okay. So that's why sometimes when I'm searching for something, I will actually try it in both search engines and see what gets returned. Okay. Um, so that's kind of something to consider also. Does anyone have any questions so far? The thing I just don't want you guys to the thing I want you to walk away from here is when you go to search to be as specific as possible for what you're searching for. If you walk away with nothing else, walk away with that and it'll improve your searchability tremendously. Okay, that's pretty much. I didn't want to make this whole live stream about search engines, though it is a big part of it. Okay, I wanted to talk also about information and misinformation with all these things you find on the internet. Um, there's a couple of tips you can go by, and this just doesn't just apply to modeling. It applies to anything you're searching for. Most legitimate informational sources on the internet will reference who they're getting the information from. Not always, but that is a good sign that you found something that is legitimate. So for instance, let's look at this Wikipedia entry. It goes and it talks about the aircraft quite a bit, right? Okay. Now look down here at the bottom. It lists sources. You see that? Okay. I'm not saying that all the information here is 100% accurate, but you certainly have a much better chance of it being accurate than looking somewhere else. So, like, let's look at, um, let's see, I'm trying to find something that's maybe not as reliable. There's a lot of stuff on here. Let's look at the IMP site. Okay, he actually is reviewing that book, so that's probably not a good example. Let's see. I was trying to find one of these kind of. How about this guy? Okay, so here's a good example. Uh, this site actually, by the way, I apologize for the flicker. If you see any, um, I'm trying to work out that problem, but hopefully we can get past it before the next one. But getting back to what we're talking about, so let's look at this site. This site may or may not have correct information, but they don't really reference it. Okay, and I am by no means saying that everything you find should have a reference. What I'm saying here is that if you find conflicting information, generally you can go with the one with the reference, and that will be the right one. Not always, but you have a much better chance of it being correct. Okay, um, so that's one tip about information that's uh, that's good to know. Um, a lot of times you'll find these little ad hoc sites like this that have kind of built this virtual aircraft museum, which is really a cool site, but you know it's really not that helpful except to give a blurb. Okay, so you know this is kind of an example of what I'm talking about. It's all anecdotal what you're reading. They read it somewhere or plagiarized it from someone else, and you just don't know. Okay, so that's kind of something to consider. Um, and when we talk about engine images, let's talk about images a little bit and searching for images. Oh, let me show y'all a neat little trick here. Let's see if I can find it here. Let's go back up to the top. Let's go over to images. Let's grab this picture here of a PZL-23, okay? We'll say save image as desktop. Okay. This is a neat little trick you can try. If you go back to Google, and instead of Google.com, you go to images, if I can type, images.google.com. What you can do is click here on the little camera, okay? And then I can go grab that image. Oh wait, that's a URL. Let's upload it. Hold on a second. Let's upload the image. I'm just going to drag it here. And what it's going to do, it's going to look at that image and it's going to find visually similar images. This is very, very helpful when you find a low resolution image of a subject and you need a high resolution image. Now you can kind of look through here and let's switch over to that and find, look at this, here's I think this one's larger, let's look. Yeah, this one's like 1300 by 672 as opposed to the little 300 by whatever image. So that's a neat little trick you can use when you have an image and you want to find a uh, a higher resolution image. You can actually use that images.google.com. Okay, and it will always show you similar images. Uh, let's do another one. Yeah, it saves a lot of time, Ed, because what it's doing basically is it's finding all the very similar images instead of having to browse through, so many. Um, let me find let me find something a little bit more fun and see if we can. Let's see. Okay, here's one. Let's see. We want to upload an image. I'm going to post a picture of my zero and let's see what it finds. So it's a picture of my zero flying. Yeah, this one didn't do very good because there's so much blue. Let's find another one here. Let's go back here and upload an image. Let's see. Okay. So you kind of see how it works. It looks at kind of, it may not return, obviously there's no other pictures of this immediately accessible, but it finds things that are visually similar, okay? Which is very helpful when you're trying to find a higher resolution image of a low res photo, okay? So all it's looking at is the elements. It's not necessarily looking at the colors. It's looking at the shape and it just finds similar shapes in that same sort of configuration. It's just using machine learning to do that. Okay. So that's kind of a neat trick. The little the, and you can find that at images.google.com and you just click on the camera. Um, you can do this is kind of cool. Watch this. You can also search by voice. This is probably more helpful on your phone, but you can say P-47 Thunderbolt. Okay, and it actually found some stuff. Okay, that works well on your phone if you're using Chrome on your phone, which I highly recommend using Firefox or Chrome. Um, Edge and Safari are fine browsers, but they have very they do not follow standards like the rest of the web does. So I would highly recommend using Chrome or Firefox as your primary browser. Okay, let's look real quick over at Bing. Uh, you could kind of do the same thing here. Okay, so let's do that. Let's uh, let's drag our little PZL23 here and see what it finds. It's probably not quite as accurate as Google because, I mean, to be frank, Google's machine learning algorithms are much more advanced than Bing's, but it's still, it tries. Um, just doesn't quite do as well. So, but anyway, so that's some things you can try if you want to kind of do a reverse search and you want to find a. It's really helpful again for finding a higher resolution image. Um, and I'm going to show you. Let's see, a couple more things, and then we're going to wrap it up here. I want to talk about good research resources. Searching on the internet, yes, you can find some really good resources. But you know what? There's some fantastic ones out there already. Like, let's see, Squadron Books. That's an excellent one. Okay. These guys have all kinds of books on aircraft, right? And to be frank with you, what you find on the internet is not going to be anywhere near the quality of information that you find in these, because all of these books are researched heavily. Another good one is one of our supporters. Let's see, MMP Books, Mushroom Modeling Publishers. These guys have some really unique and interesting subjects. Um, I mean, you name it, they've probably got it if it's obscure. Um, and their pricing is not bad either. So let's see, let's go to home here. They have these things called singles, which are basically nothing but minimal text on the subject and line drawings and color plates. And they're they're pretty straightforward. Okay. Um, and as you can see, they're priced pretty fairly also. But and another two ones that if you're looking for an obscure book, um, see if I can remember these. There's Abe Books, ABEBLOKS.com. These guys, if let's say you know about a book or you found reference to a book, but Amazon doesn't have it, and none of the other publishers do. These guys specialize in used books, okay, and they have a very large selection of aircraft books, okay. Um, so let's say, I mean, they just have literally thousands, okay. Um, so you may find it here. Another place for a rare book, if you can't find it, is um, Bird Aviation Books. Let's see. Now, all of these that I'm showing you are listed in the document, the PDF document, so you don't have to write them down. Um, I think that's right. No, that's not right. Hold on. What did I misspell? Books. Huh. Oh, I see. Pfft, I typed it backwards. There. These guys have a real wide selection of rare aviation books. Okay. So you may want to check with them also. They do a great job of finding odd stuff. So once again, if you find one that you can't seem to find anywhere else, you can check with these sources. Um, one other quick thing about images. Let's talk about that, and then we're going to wrap up. If you are looking for images of a specific subject, the first place I would point you to is good old modelersreference.com, right? Um, there's lots of aircraft walk-arounds here. Another one that you can check out is, of course, Air Docs, what used to be Bob's Air Docs. I think this is right. .biz, I believe. Yeah, there's another one. And last but not least, um, Airliners.net is a good one. Um, if there is a flying example of what you're trying to model, these guys will have a picture of it more than likely. Okay. Um, you know, what if you need plans for a thing like the Grinnell 9? Is that how you say it? Well, let's do that. That's a good example. Let's go to Google and we'll paste that in. And that's how I would do it right there. That would be my first thing I would try. Uh, there you go. It's not the same one, is it? But you can see that's kind of a first starting place, and then you could try the phrase. There you go. So it's just all about, d- don't enter one thing and assume that what you're seeing is everything about that item, right? Whatever you search for. That would be the biggest thing I could recommend to you. Um, does anybody else have any questions before we knock off? We kind of went over on time a little bit, but that's okay. No biggie. Okay, if you don't have any questions, then let me pull something up here. On our YouTube channel, I'm going to pull up our stream right here. If you scroll down here, if you found this um, live streaming broadcast helpful, I'm going to try and start doing these quarterly, but it takes a lot of time and effort to put this information together. And if anyone would like to donate a little cash to help out, that way I can upgrade my equipment and we can keep doing these kind of things. But anyway, right here I have a link to a small donation page. If you feel compelled to do that, that would be great. If not, no big deal. I just hope you enjoyed this and hope you will attend more in the future. If you have any specific questions about this, don't hesitate to contact me on the site. I'll be more than happy to try and help you out any way I can. I will, in just a few moments, as soon as we end this, I will be posting the PDF in the post on RCSB on the home page. It's down at the bottom now because all the August stuff is above it. But at the very bottom of the home page of RCSB, you'll see the post about this live stream, and I will add a link to download the PDF for you in just a few minutes. Okay, well, thanks so much for joining me. It certainly helps having some folks here to listen, and you guys have a great weekend, and I'll be seeing you on the site. Also, one last thing, if you have any ideas about what you'd like to see on these live streams, this is the second one we've done. Let me know, and we'll try and put it together for you. Thanks again, everybody, and hope you have a great weekend. Also, take care of yourselves and be healthy. Bye bye.